The following is a fan-made project. All My Little Pony programs, comic books, and related merchandise are owned by Hasbro Incorporated and its affiliates. Please support the official release.
Thank you one and all for your attendance, and we guarantee that your time here will not be spent in vain.
In fact, we think it will prove to be the most valuable time you've ever spent.
The Flim Flam Brothers. This should be interesting.
My sentiments exactly.
だからハイハイハイ幸せがきっとハイハイハイ歌い出す輝いてるこの季節に胸が踊るの
Well, I knew this would be an interesting episode, to say the least. It's the last episode of the season to be written by Josh Haber, and it marks the return of Flim and Flam, voiced by Samuel Vincent and Scott McNeil. I could have sworn it was the same guy doing those voices. I needed a moment to wrap my head around the fact that this episode has Fisher Biscuit and Piccolo trying to cheat talking horses out of money. Let's see how it turns out. The episode begins at the old swimming hole and immediately establishes that Granny Smith has aquaphobia, fear of water. Aquaphobia is one of the more common phobias, usually stemming from a traumatic experience involving water. The high dive accident Granny mentioned certainly qualifies. It can take years of talk therapy and mental conditioning to cure a phobia, and some never get cured at all. This is a very realistic way of expressing phobias. While the apples walk home, they see a bunch of ponies who I'm assuming were injured in the war with the zebras head for a tent. In the tent is, you guessed it, Flim and Flam, and they want to sell flu shots, apparently. We all know it's really a placebo. For those of you that don't know, a placebo is an incredibly powerful psychedelic drug, 10 times more potent than shrooms. So ask your doctor if you can have a ton of placebos. So Granny Smith buys the Flim Flam Brother Miracle Curative Tonic. That just rolls off your tongue, doesn't it? And it seems to work for her, much to AJ's confusion. So she decides to confront Flim and Flam on the matter. And they don't deny that they just fleeced her. But thanks to some mental rickrolling, they're able to drag AJ neck deep into their lies. They just discorded Applejack. It's like Josh Haber watched that scene from Return to Harmony and thought, you know, I can make an entire episode around that. Granny gets so confident that she enters a swim meet with Apple Bloom and everything seems great, until Granny decides to try to break the old high dive record, along with her neck. Applejack saves her life and comes clean, exposing Flim and Flam's scam. The villains leave town before a mob can form, and AJ learns a lesson in the importance of honesty without it seeming the slightest bit contrived. What spore of madness is this? And to end it off, AJ gets her rainbow key item thing. A coin. Well, I hope she doesn't accidentally spend that bit, otherwise all of Equestria is screwed. Applejack is in rare form this episode. Josh Haber really gets AJ. Too many episodes about Applejack have her freak out unreasonably because, well, I worked for Twilight, I guess. In this episode, Applejack has to deal with a problem that was kind of brushed aside in Season 2. She has a lingering fear of the future and the unknown, probably stemming from the demise of her parents. Flim and Flam take full advantage of this fear and keep Applejack from stopping them by playing all sorts of mind games. I love how blatantly they are about being such unrepentant assholes. But nothing will top how they look at each other occasionally as if to telepathically say,
I love it when a plan comes together.
Granny Smith also has a lot going for her in this episode. I think Josh Haber would fit right in with the Brony analysis community. He loves building on small details that go unnoticed. While it isn't stated implicitly in the episode, it is quite heavily implied that Granny's high dive accident was what caused her famous hip injury. This injury made her long for her glory days as a young filly, a great chef, an expert apple bucker, and a high diving aqua pony. Stallions were probably all over her.
What? Oh my god, I just got a mental picture! Get out!
Okay, but now it's time to address the elephant in the room. Silvershell, voiced by Ian James Carlett. Silvershell is a terrible character that doesn't even need to exist. No, character isn't the right word. Characters have character. Silver Shield is a puppet with the voice of Mega Man coming out of it. Since I probably just pissed off the voice of reason, I'm going to ask a very simple question. What do we actually know about Silver Shield? And for good measure, let's compare him to Coco Pamel, who had a similar amount of screen time. With Coco, we know that she's great at selling, knows several tricks to cut corners without sacrificing quality, and has a high moral compass but weak self-esteem. As for Silver Shield, we know he feels kind of guilty about lying to ponies. Best Keybearer voice? I'm supposing in the same way Sombra has deep and relatable motivations? Also, how would a pony ever need crutches? And who goes from, I'm totally cool with lying, to, I'm tired of all the lies, I quit, in the span of 3 minutes. 3 minutes! Flash Sentry has more personality than this guy. Snappy Scoop has more personality than him. Boulder has more personality than him. Lucky for the episode itself, Shield is of absolutely no consequence to the plot. Even this key bearing was completely pointless. It could have been Granny Smith giving AJ an empty bottle of the tonic. In fact, I thought that was what was going to happen, because the idea of giving plot importance is such an insult to every character that ever existed in fiction is just not something I was thinking. Fortunately, since he's of no importance, he doesn't become cancerous to the episode. He's just an unpleasant-looking growth on it. I have to give the animators credit for using new character models when it made perfect sense. You can't really ask why the town is listening to Flim and Flam after their last 2 scams in Ponyville, as well as the other cameos they made in the comics. Most of the crowd is made up of completely new ponies to Ponyville, especially in the first few scenes involving Flim and Flam. So I also have to mention that they do a good job animating Water. It's nothing groundbreaking or jaw-dropping, but they are getting quite skilled at it. Water is one of the hardest things to animate. I mean, just ask the animators at Pixar about working on Finding Nemo. And there are also some pretty funny jokes in this episode.
What do you say, Big McAdoo? Up for a little afternoon apple bucking?
No.
Oh, sweet Mother Galaxia, I can't unsee that. The only downside to the presentation is the musical number. At first I thought it was because the song wasn't catchy enough, but then I caught myself singing it in public. Pro tip! Singing a Snake Oil Salesman's theme song on a sales floor, not a very good idea. And by the way, the Paris Bright reference here is very clever. After repeat viewings, I figured out what the problem with the musical number is. The animation. It isn't bad, it just doesn't fit the energy of the song, compared to Super Saiya's Squeezy 6000. They aren't just standing around singing, they move around and there's plenty of interesting things going on in the background. But in this musical number, the animation doesn't quite fit the tone and strength of the song, so it feels kind of awkward. It's not a huge issue, it doesn't just destroy the entire music number, but it makes it slightly less enjoyable than it should be. This is a great episode with a few small things holding it back. 4 out of 5. This is easily Josh Haber's best outing yet. I can safely say that I want him to continue to work on the show, if only to have a good writer for Applejack episodes. AJ hasn't had a lot of great episodes, and I imagine Haber could change that quickly. As for Silver Shield, he can take a long walk off a short pier. Stick with Trenderhoof, Josh.
Cash for the merchandise. Cash for the button hooks.
Cash for the cotton goods, cash for the hard goods,
Cash for the fancy goods. Cash for the soft goods.
cash for the noggins and the piggins and the friggins.
Cash for the hogshead cask and demijohn. Cash for the crackers and the pickles and the fly paper.
Look, what do you talk? What do you talk? What do you talk? What do you talk? What do you talk?
Where do you get it?
What do you talk?
You can talk, you can talk, you can...
Sheesh, Lyra, a 3? Really? And what's with that look you're giving him? Did the two of you go on a date that went badly?